It's 7 o'clock. I'd like to call the meeting to order. We'll start with the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for attending the Monday, June 20th meeting of the Fredericksburg City Council. City Council meetings are your government in action. It is representative democracy at the level closest to the people. City Council meetings are a time for elected officials and city staff to come together to discuss and consider public policy agenda items. They are a time for guest speakers to make presentations to the council about issues that affect our city. These meetings are also designed as a forum for the public to attend, to listen, and to participate by speaking during public hearings and public comment. Also, these meetings are an opportunity for City Council to speak and to interact in discussion with the people. I ask that during these proceedings certain rules of decorum be observed. These rules of decorum apply to City Council members and city staff as well as to the public. These rules include being respectful to the person speaking, actively listening without interrupting, and talking in a civil tone. People will not always agree on issues, but we can be courteous, considerate, and respectful when we do disagree. I ask that we all maintain a level of professionalism and politeness at these meetings. Item number 3 is public hearing Z-1102 by OBrien Partners on behalf of H-E-B Grocery Company at 407 South Adams to amend the planned unit development, or PUD, to allow a permanent shade canopy within the front sidewalk and the addition of a single diesel fuel dispenser island with canopy cover.
Move we go out of regular session into public hearing.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to go out of regular session into public hearing. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are now in public hearing.
Good evening. My name is Mark Johnson. I'm with OBrien Partners here on behalf of H-E-B. I have with me some folks from H-E-B, Mary Rohr with real estate, Kathy Bowen with the unit director who runs the store. Got Oscar Pena, he's the design team, architect with H-E-B, and some other supporters. I think before I go into the details of our formal request, I just want to touch real quickly on and mention that H-E-B is making a significant reinvestment on this store. They have the addition that is already underway behind the drive-through pharmacy, and there'll be over the next few months a number of block shifting and moving things around within the store to kind of freshen up the store and remodel departments, provide new offerings. I'm sorry, am I not on? There we go. Sorry. Anyway, so just wanted to touch on that. New offerings, the expansion, updated exterior and interior paint. But there are a couple items that you're aware of that were part of H-E-B's proposed reinvestment that did require the public hearing approval process. The shade canopy that we'll talk about in this addition. On the shade canopy, I think probably in your packets, you probably have this drawing in your packet. This is just a full-size copy of that. I just pointed everybody Adams Street, Cooper, the store. In the front sidewalk, we're proposing a shade canopy. It's probably about 1,500 square foot shade canopy. Out of the drive, it won't be encroaching into the driveway. It'll be just behind the driveway, and it'll just cover some of the existing sales area in that front sidewalk. There's no proposed change underneath that canopy. It's just providing a better experience for the shoppers, having some extra shade on that front sidewalk. It's a permanent structure. It will have metal columns and a canvas cover. I think Brian's got a sample of that. It's
there any public comment? Any further public comment from the audience? Steve, you go to the microphone and please identify yourself. Please speak into the microphone so our new system can pick you up.
Hey guys, I'm Steve OBrien. Well, yeah, I think the canopy is a great idea. I really think that area needs shade, right? I mean, you guys are responsible for that front area, so I'm totally for that. It scares me a little bit when you start talking about adding a diesel pump there, because when we say people are requesting that you carry diesel, what they're kind of saying right now, and I bet you those requests have gone up, the gas prices have gone up, because they're hurting. They're the cheapest gas in town. So people drive from across town to get to your gas station. The other gas sales go to the other vendors who are 10, maybe 15 cents higher in some areas because we're locked in. You come in from the outlying region. So HEB has a tough place, right? Because you have this nationwide branch called Walmart that encroached on small towns and got rid of a lot of small businesses.
Steve, can you limit yourself to the HEB?
I'll wrap it up really quick.
Okay.
You guys got to be careful with that. I totally promote you going with diesel or whatever. That's your right. I support that. But be careful because you could become Walmart really quick and start tearing out businesses.
Thank you. Is there any further public comment? Mr. Jordan? Oh.
I move we go out of public hearing back into regular session.
Second.
Movement second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Mr. Jordan.
Just for the benefit of some of the council or the people here that might not have been at Planning and Zoning Commission or the here when the HEB project started, but basically their original PUD, which is a planned unit development zoning, which is a type of zoning district that allows a developer or an applicant to come in and request a zoning that's essentially a customized kind of zoning, and in return the city is able to apply certain standards that would apply to them that might not otherwise apply in just a straight kind of a commercial zoning, etc. But anyway, that was adopted back in December of 2001. We've actually amended it a few times, some administratively. The most recent amendment was done formally by the council in 2006, and it was to allow them to designate a small area out in the parking lot for outdoor storage and outdoor sales, And they have not done that to date, but they have the ability to do that through a PUD amendment that they did in 2006. Since that time, and most recently, some of the changes that Mark was talking about that you'll see at the store, most importantly probably, or the most obvious, is going to be the building addition that's going to be on the east side. There's going to be about a 1,500 square foot building addition on the east side over by the pharmacy. We felt like that was within the context of what their original PUD was proposed. They weren't actually changing circulation or parking or what we would consider to be major public types of concerns. And so that ultimately was approved administratively. So that's why you're not seeing that as part of their request this evening. But the two things that they did present to us that we felt needed to be considered were the canopy cover in the front, because that was a sensitive issue back early on, was what the facade of the building was going to look like, and we wanted to make sure that we weren't that they weren't impeding that in any way, etc. So that was the reason for that inclusion. And secondly, the issue of the diesel fueling station. It has nothing to do with the fact that it's diesel. It's the fact that it's an additional dispenser to dispense fuel from. And we felt like that was important to include as part of there's PUD amendment, because there's been a sensitivity to an allowance of the additional dispensers in the past. And in fact, in 2009, we actually considered an amendment to that provision of the zoning ordinance. And in fact, the staff was suggesting that we eliminate that condition altogether, and that there not be a limit described in our zoning code. The Planning and Zoning Commission conducted a public hearing. There was public comment, and they recommended that we keep that provision in place. And that was the recommendation that went forward from the Planning and Zoning Commission. And ultimately, the City Council ratified that in their vote. So basically, the limitation right now is that we have a single canopy, a single island with 3 multiple pump dispensers. Okay, and what they're proposing is to add an additional canopy as is shown on the plan there. Okay. Planning and Zoning Commission held a hearing a week and a half ago or so, and they felt much like staff did that just because the HEB has a PUD zoning, we didn't feel like that was justification to allow them to have the additional fueling station. So in the interest of fairness, in our opinion, we felt like it would be our recommendation that we not allow HEB to have the additional dispenser. Now, if we want to go back and review the ordinance, that would be fine with staff. But until that happens, we felt like this was not something we would recommend. And that was what ultimately the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended, was that this not be approved. The canopy was fine, the fueling dispenser would not be. And that was what was recommended by Planning and Zoning.
What was the vote at P&Z?
Unanimous.
7-0, 6, were they all 9 members?
However many were there,
Okay,
to 0.
Thank you.
Council,
I move that we approve the request by HEB, subject to the fact that they have withdrawn their application or their request for the single diesel fueling dispenser, and we approve the permanent shade canopy within the front sidewalk as presented.
I second that.
there's a motion and a second to approve the shaded the canopy on the front sidewalk. Further discussion?
Can we also at this time direct Brian to maybe do a survey or to come up with a possible amendment to the ordinance?
To work with P&Z.
Yeah.
Please, I would include that in my motion.
To a possible revision of this.
Right.
Okay.
Motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you for your patience.
All right, item number 5, public hearing Z-1103 by the City of Fredericksburg 2A. Consider a change in the land use plan from public, semi-public to CBD, Central Business District, uptown on property located at 610 West Main Street. And B, consider a change in zoning from public facilities to C2, commercial on said property.
I move to go out of regular session into public hearing.
Second.
Motion and a second to go out of regular session into public hearing. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Mr. Jordan, on behalf of the City of Fredericksburg.
Well, this was initiated by the City of Fredericksburg. We have that ability through our zoning ordinance to initiate. In fact, it's our obligation to look at things that we feel are out of the ordinary, or things that we need to reconsider in terms of the zoning of the city. And this is one of those situations that, frankly, I was here when this was done, but it was something that I think we inadvertently misinterpreted and didn't recognize that it hadn't been rezoned when it was done. But again, for the benefit of those who might not know the history of this property, it was the city's location of our water storage tank and our water department, and there was a swap of properties done, a three-way swap of properties done between the Historical Society, the city, and St. Joseph's Credit Union. The credit union had the property on Milam Street in San Antonio. The city had the property on West Main, 610 West Main, and the Historical Society had Cross Mountain. And there was a swap done, which the ultimate result of that was that the city got Cross Mountain Historical Society got the site on Milam Street, and then the St. Joseph's Credit Union got the property on Main Street. Okay, that's only important because that was how it all evolved.
Right.
And
that's how we got to where we are today.
To get the reason that the zoning is even an issue now is because we've had some time to kind of look at things, and it kind of stuck out as a beacon to us, and I can't really say why we didn't notice it earlier, but it's still zoned public facilities, which is the kind of zoning that you would typically see for a water department or a public. This site, for instance, is zoned that way. Mark Blotz, all of our parks, etc., are zoned public facilities. So I contacted the credit union because it wasn't something that they even recognized was not taken care of, and told them what we were doing, and they didn't have an objection to it. They gave me a letter that acknowledged that, but nonetheless, we still needed to go through the formal zoning process and hearing process to accomplish this proposal, which is to change the zoning first of all, to change the land use plan to be compatible with the adjoining property, which is what you see on page 26. And then secondly, to change the zoning from public facilities to C2, which is again the zoning that's identical to either side of it. So it's really essentially a administrative kind of a cleanup thing, but we are required to notify people within 200 feet, and we did have some objections to the zoning. I don't think that's in your packet.
It just says that there were 3 letters of opposition. Could you tell us what the opposition
was? Well, I'll send this. I don't have a... I'll just send this around. There's 3 letters that we received an objection. Most of them were concerning from the people who reside on the Austin Street side. Their houses face on Austin Street. They're zoned residential. They happen to back up to this property, and of course, I think part of their objection was the fact that would have commercial zoning right up against residential. You have that up and down Main Street now. We realize that that's not a perfect situation, but our Main Street is our primary commercial corridor, and that's what it's zoned from one end of town all the way to the other end of town. So we still feel like this is an appropriate zoning, given the orientation of the lots and given the fact that it's zoned that way on either side. The objections that we've received represent 10% of the property within the 200-foot area, so they don't meet the threshold of 20%, and that's important because if it did represent 20% of the property, it would require a supermajority vote to override that protest. We don't have that in this situation because it represents 10%. Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of the zone change and the land use plan change at their meeting 10 days ago or so, unanimously, and we would support that recommendation as well.
In summary, the oppositions were not the fact that there was a credit union there. It was the fact that if the credit union moved, then that property could become basically anything that was allowed in the
That's
C1.
correct.
In the C1.
That's probably a good summary because they had no objection to the credit union and the fact that they were there. Their fear was, or their potential fear was, that it could become anything that C2 allows, and that is in fact correct.
But isn't that the case anywhere up and down Main Street in the CBD?
Well, it's not in the CBD.
No, within that block.
Yes, within this block, basically from Bowie Street west, it's C2, and then from there east, it's CBD. But from there all the way out to the Y, it's commercial zoning fronting on Main Street. That's correct.
Any comments from the public?
Yeah, that 10%. How did you go about soliciting for all the people that will be affected?
we basically take the property, we draw a 200-foot radius around it. That's what the ordinance and the law requires, and then we notify all of the people that happens to hit. Okay, and we send them a letter, a form letter, that at the bottom of it has a sheet that they can just tear off and send back to us that says I protest or I support for whatever reasons, etc. Okay, when we get those back, we then apply that to whatever properties those are, and then we have a way of through our CAD system of determining what percentage of that property it represents of the overall property, and that's how that's done.
How many returns did you actually get?
The 3.
How many people responded to that?
3.
Only 3 people said no, and everything else returned.
No,
They didn't respond.
Oh, gotcha.
So,
they either respond favorably or protest, or they just don't respond.
and that was 15. Brian, you sent out. There were 15 affected property owners. That's what I counted on,
Okay.
on the map.
That sounds about right.
Is there any more public comment on that?
You could probably argue, Brian, that changing it from public facilities probably offers more protection than leaving it as public facilities. Is that right? Could you argue that? I mean, it's currently a public facility. It's zoned public facility.
Correct. That it would be better to leave it public facility?
No, you could argue that.
That it would allow more objectionable use.
Right.
Gives them.
But it's really not even intended for the same purpose.
Right.
So it's I mean, yeah, you could argue that a water department property could perhaps be more objectionable than a retail store or a whatever. But I mean,
This council and previous city councils have stated that they are not in favor of spot zoning.
right.
So to leave this piece of property as public facilities, in effect, would we be spot zoning on Main Street?
No, it's already done.
Yeah, it's already done. It's an existing condition. So, but if you looked at it the other way, if you said, hey, somebody was proposing to put public facilities in the middle of C2, we certainly wouldn't allow that to happen.
Yeah.
I move we go out of public hearing back into regular session.
Second.
Second to go out of public hearing into regular session. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right. Okay, item number 6. Receive recommendation and consider Z-1103.
I move that we change the zoning from public facilities to C2 commercial on the subject property.
And the land use plan change.
Oh.
And the land use plan.
Oh, sorry, and the land use plan.
And land use plan
From public, semi-public to CBD, Central Business District.
note to C2, right?
But the
No, that's the
land use plan.
The land
Okay,
use
land use
plan
plan,
is from
okay.
public.
Okay. All right. The motion is to change the zoning on the piece of property from PF public facilities to C2 commercial, and to change the land use plan designation from public, semi-public to CBD.
It's actually CBD uptown.
CBD uptown.
Right.
Okay. Uptown.
I second that motion.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further council discussion? Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes 5-0. Item number 7, in unfinished business, discuss and consider clarifications and amendments to the existing drought contingency plan. Mr. Wallendorf.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think everyone's well aware of the drought we're in, and as we pull out our drought contingency plan and water management plan, we've noted some issues in the verbiage there, and Pat has drawn up some revisions to that, and then we have met internally to make some clarifications that we need. And I think in the memo you received, I can go through those quickly. And tell you what the intents are there. The ones we looked at were primarily Section 4777, handheld hoses or other watering devices. And that item was added to clear up a misconception by a number of people that irrigating with a hand by hose end is acceptable anytime, and that's not the case. You're available to use a hose as you drag it around your yard only during your specific watering time. So that is what that one was put in there. Section 4777, Stage 3, severe water shortage conditions is amended to clarify the days and times from the existing ordinance. In the proposed Stage 3 will allow watering on 2 days for each customer. And then Stage 4 is 4778 is clarified to allow 1 day of watering. And I believe that is the primary clarifications there. I think Pat may have a few comments there. We also have received a comment that we'd like to address, that if it pleases the council, to allow people to water their gardens, and I'll propose how I would like to see that. I think we can allow people who have gardens to water their gardens on off days that aren't their specific watering day by a soaker hose or drip irrigation, and then on the days that is their watering day on any method that's allowed by that day. If that pleases the council, I'd like to add that.
And make that a permanent part of the ordinance.
So this is vegetable gardens. What about orchards?
Do we have any
These
orchards?
are private or commercials?
These are private.
Okay.
Private gardens.
This is always one where staff will hear me. I use the OMA test, and I'd hate having to tell my OMA that she couldn't water her garden. So
We got to define garden, though. What are we talking about specifically?
yeah, I think so. And those are
Edible thingies.
Edible things.
right. The things we try to clarify in where there are some issues there, or people have flowers. As a flower garden, a garden, or your landscape beds, your garden. So those are some things that need some clarification, and we allowed. Again, the goal here is to conserve water. We allowed people the opportunity to water with a can or a bucket, which is somewhat cumbersome, but again, we have to remember what the goal is. So we try to allow them to water their plants, per se, in that method at any time.
Even in stage 5. Is that right?
That's my opinion.
Okay, because that was Gary's recommendation. So.
All right, I have a point of clarification. There are at least 1 or 2 places inside the city limits that I know of where a piece of property is being used or leased from the property owner for basically a very small truck farm operation. Now, is that a garden or is that a commercial operation? And how does that apply to what we're talking about tonight?
Well, it's for sure a garden.
All right.
In the sense of the terms. Now, I don't know that we specifically limit commercial operations per se.
Okay.
Again, that's my opinion. I'm not.
Okay. All right. I just want to ask because I know it's going to come up. I mean, somebody's going to call up the city hall and say, "Hey, so-and-so's out there and he's running the sprinkler in the tomato plants."
Well, again, for him to be allowed to water on his off days, he has to use a water conservation method, be it drip or soaker.
Or a bucket.
Or a bucket.
Okay.
All right.
And so could we alleviate some of the confusion if by the term garden we use the term vegetable garden?
Herbs.
Or herb vegetable or herb garden?
Legal.
Yeah.
Well, and that leaves the door open too. What about for human consumption, or something a little bit more specific that wipes out some of the other opportunities?
Yeah, I definitely try to keep it as simple as we can.
Okay.
Well, the only problem, Craig, what we're looking at though is Councilman Dooley pointed out, we're opening a door. If we say garden, we need to be rather specific, or there are going to be all kind of loopholes, and we're going to end up with nothing accomplished.
Well, I'm open to any clarification you'd like to add.
I think it's probably rather a small percentage of people who have gardens.
I gave up on mine.
But you're saying, you are saying edible. For edible.
I think edible is a good word. We'll use that.
Can you Craig, could you briefly explain to the audience what is happening now in Stage 2 and why Stage 2 is not being successful?
Basically, in Stage 2, our pumping rates have hit some all-time highs, upwards of 5 million gallons a day. A lot of that goes to irrigation. So typically in the past, or since I've been here, when we've gone to Stage 2 and gone to a 3-day watering schedule, our rates have come down under 4 million gallons, and that hasn't been the case so far this year. So the goal is, after we enact this, we're going to discuss the current water rates and hope that we can go to a 2-day schedule and get our watering rates in tune with where they should be.
No, wait a minute. When you say watering rates, what are you talking about? Dollars? Or
the rate of water
Consumption?
being used.
Water pumpage, what we're pumping out of the ground.
To give some background, Craig, in our discussions, you've said that the city water department is currently pumping in. Here we are on the 20th of June. We are pumping at the rate that we normally do in the time period of after the middle of August to the middle of September. Is that correct?
In drought periods, that is correct. I mean, our rates are what we see then, and they vary depending on temperature and rain. The main concerns, and we'll look at those in the next couple of items, is where our wells are, and we're not in an area where we haven't been before. It's just a little bit earlier than we have been typically, and obviously all of us know the conditions, and it's time to.
It's like 60 days earlier.
That's true. We'll look at it. It's again, I don't want to be reactionary. I want us to be proactive, but we're not anywhere we haven't been. We're not anywhere we haven't rebounded from, and worse previously. We just need to take these steps to try and curtail the water usage.
My concern, Craig, have we ever seen in recent or in any recorded history the level of drought that we're facing this particular year?
Yes.
And if so, do you know what the levels were at that time, and are we compatible or are we comparable? Or
when we get, we can discuss it now, or we can go to the next
no,
item.
that's fine. That's fine.
The levels seen right now are similar to what we've seen. We're still more than 10 to 15 feet from bottom out places that I've seen since I've been here. But without question, we're in a pretty severe drought. They're all different. I mean, it's hard to pin one against another. The things to really look at basin wide, when you look at the Pedernales River Basin, the Llano River Basin, and the adjacent basins, are the rivers have stopped flowing. So that's a pretty significant indicator of where the groundwater is. So, that's why we need to definitely move in, and we can discuss this again in the next couple of items. I think we need to, at a minimum, move into 2 this evening, and we'll discuss that. To 2 days watering, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Move to 2 days watering, and if we don't see significant changes in everyone's watering habits in the next 10 days, move straight to 1 day.
So we are in Stage 2 right now.
That's correct.
And you are recommending that the city go to Stage 3.
That's correct.
And who does the city manager or your department have the authority to move from stage to stage when you see fit, based upon the circumstances?
That's correct. Per the ordinance allows.
Okay, so the ordinance does not require the city council to vote to move from stage to stage. It is up to the experts on city staff.
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
Actually, what Craig is trying to encourage us to do is focus on 7 first.
Right.
And
right.
Really,
and that's where we are. That's where we are on 7.
Do we need to move to pass those?
Yeah, we need
clarifications.
Yes, and I will add those exemptions in for allowing bucket, handheld, container watering all the time, and also exempt edible food gardens on your days that you can water. You can use the full spectrum of things, but if you're trying to water on days it's not yours, it's only by drip or silver hose. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
That's correct. Okay. In your garden. Okay.
Right.
All right. I'm going to take some public comment on this. John, would you come up to the podium, please?
Craig, I got the impression from what you said that the problem is one of non-compliance rather than a definition. Did you say that we ought to be pumping 4 million a day
No.
instead of 5?
I don't think I can attribute it to non-compliance. I think as a whole, the city is in great compliance. And I judge that based on people who we've notified. On re-notification or recheck, they're 98% compliant. For sure, notification and making sure everyone is aware of what stage we're in is important. But in general, we have to assume the citizens are good people and are abiding by it.
So the figure demand.
It's absolutely demand.
Thanks, John. Steve?
Hey, thank you for that amendment with the solar hoses, or at least talking about it. I think these gardens are very important to people that are gardening and watering them. That's a very responsible way to deal with it, with the drip irrigation solar hoses. I also like their argument in favor of anybody that's commercially producing food or herbs, within the city of Fredericksburg. But that's the kind of businesses that we want to promote through the local here. So it's great that you guys are talking about it. It's a shame where we are with the drought. The other thing is, so if people are in compliance and we're using more water, what's the aquifers that are delivering the water? Are those all in good shape? Have you guys done any looking into, are we losing water at any specific points? That's it. Thanks.
That's you're going to discuss that
That's correct.
next. Okay.
Okay. So I move that we
have
sorry.
Ms. Wanderhaus.
I just wanted a clarification on, are you changing the verbiage to correct the meaning on holding the water hoses, or are you changing the ordinance?
Yeah, and it does amount to an ordinance change, but yes, we're going to say that you cannot hand water.
So that's allowed, but this is a change to the ordinance.
That has not been allowed. That's
Well,
just
it's not been
kind of been a
allowed, but it
misnomer.
wasn't specific in here. So, yeah.
And who enforces the ordinance?
Our code enforcement officer is under Brian.
Is under Brian. And then what about the water department? Are they out?
The water department will notify people and notify Ned. I believe the other enforcement opportunity is with the police department.
Okay. And the police department is also involved in enforcement.
They have the ability to enforce it. Code enforcement and police.
I feel that the issue right now is one of public awareness, is getting everybody to understand that we are in a severe drought and that it's time for all of us to take measures to try to conserve water as much as possible. And I believe that the clarifications and the amendments to our drought contingency plan do that. Okay. Any other public comment? Yes, sir.
Just a point of clarification. I didn't quite understand. Did you say that if you decide to change the watering schedule, notify people, and then you notify back to 3, back to 2, you notify them again? I guess the question is, how would we notify them? We don't take the paper, don't come to council members. You send them out in your monthly bill that the schedule's been changed back to 3 or back to 2 or whatever it is, for the clarification that we've been talking about.
Yeah, we try to hit every possible method there is. A good place to look is always our website. There'll always be a banner on our website, the city website, that states what stage we're in. We'll put it in the utility bill, on the radios, the tickers on the TV. Basically try to make every effort we can to get it out. I do intend, if things don't get better by basically bill time this month, there will be a flyer in there stating what stage we're in there, regardless of what stage.
And I have asked the city manager to for the city to purchase a banner, put across Main Street, that we can basically inform the citizenry that's going up and down Main Street to, we're in stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4. Right. Well, I think with all the reading the newspaper, you can always call City Hall, and they're very helpful in providing information.
And I bet your neighbors might help a little there too.
Somebody will let you know.
Mr. Watson?
John Watson. So I'm looking at the plan. It's a great plan. And I noticed when you get to stage 4, which sounds like there's a possibility down the road to improve. There's surcharges are going to be charged for excessive use. That's suggested. I'm just looking at the wording here. $4 for the first 1,000 gallons over allocation. $5 for the 7,000. That's right on the website. But I'm wondering if we could take a proactive approach, try to help stem off some of the talk happening now. Or is there any consideration out there looking at the contingency plan to put official policy encouraging water collection or any incentives to encourage that? So next time when there is a rain, we'll be in better shape and better prepared for the future.
I think that's good. It's great public policy for individuals to conserve water and to capture water. I'm not. I don't know about the. I'd love to be in a position where we can say we're going to capture water off your roof. My house has an old cistern on it, and the Germans were doing this 100 years ago. But I don't know that the city would have. We would have to have a discussion as to whether we want to have any kind of public policy.
Yeah, I think it's something you guys would have to discuss.
Right.
Definitely is proactive, and everyone has that opportunity right now to do that.
Mr. Kirschdorfer?
What about the restaurants serving water, an optional thing versus every table gets 18 glasses of water and then they come down?
It would be my first, as an ex-waiter, it would be my hope that the business community, that the restaurateurs in town would be having a discussion with their staff, saying we're going to offer water to the public if they want it. I'm not so sure that as a public policy decision that the city council should be up here telling restaurants you can't. To me that seems a little bit about micromanaging when common sense can dictate that. Number one, if a businessman, if a restaurateur decides on that policy that I'm not going to take water, some people don't drink water, but those glasses still have to be washed, and they still have to go through a sterilizer, and it costs them money plus the water they don't drink and the water it takes to wash those glasses. So, if there are any restaurateurs listening tonight, ask your people if they want water. Don't just automatically assume that they do want water. Yes, sir.
Is there any city water being sold outside the city limits?
Only to, as far as I know, only to customers who are on city water lines that are purchasing that at what double city rates. But if you're asking is Boot Ranch buying any city water, the answer to that question is no, they are not.
Yes, they are.
They are buying city water. They are buying residential city water for their housing developments. They are not using any city water to water their golf course. They are using effluent water to water their golf course. The people at Boot Ranch are city water and sewer customers.
How are you going to enforce that out there?
It's in their restrictive covenants. That's part of the contract that we had with them.
Right.
And they ceded us the authority to do that. So.
Do you have a motion on the floor?
Are we out of public? before we have a public.
I think we are.
Yep.
Okay, so I move that we amend the ordinance as discussed, including the notes that Ms. McGowan has made.
Okay.
I second it.
Second by Mr. Jones. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Item number 8 is consider enacting stage 3 water restrictions.
So moved.
Mr. Wallendorf has a presentation.
And not only that, you don't need it.
We don't do it. He does it. Okay.
He just wanted to be sure.
Yeah.
Just wanted to be a part of it.
Just trying to move things along here just a little bit.
Thanks, Pat.
Is this local? Is this the stock market?
This is actually a log that is in the burner field. It's between the burner field and the Hahn field, which is on Old San Antonio Road. And you can see our levels kind of peaked on this graph around April and have been declining since. But I always don't want everyone to be too reactionary. So we've dropped down this curve, but I'd like to show you the next curve, which has a little bit more data as far as what we see on typical years, and kind of show you a couple of things that may be interesting to you, maybe not. You see in this area we were kind of what we would consider mining the well field. We don't see the rebounds like we've seen here in the past. This is when the canal field came online, so we're able to reduce some pumping on that and allow this well field to rebuild. But as you can see, definitely back here in the early 90s or mid 90s, our levels were pretty low. This is current till last night. We definitely, are in a decline. Again, I think you guys noted that it's very typical. It's just a little bit earlier than we typically see. And regardless of some of these years, when you start to see the rebound, it isn't because of rain necessarily. It's because water usage stops. We have a freeze. Plants turn loose of the water. It goes back into the soil. You have upticks over time. So for sure, we need to enact stage 3 to hopefully turn down our pumping. I'm going to show you something that's in this is a canal field. Sorry, get there. Right here. See similar drawdown. There's some, not necessarily anomalies, but things that are dependent on well fields and what we're pumping. But you see a steady decline there. Things to keep in mind about the capacity of these wells. These are measured from the top of the ground, top of the well casing. And that water in those wells is 40 feet from the top of the ground. And they're very prolific. Right now, we're down 80 feet below grade on these. And if you look at these, this is daily minimum depth. This is the absolute worst. That's when these wells are pumping and they're drawn down. So it's not after they've shut off and rebounded. This is when they're being drawn down on their hardest, which right now is hard. So keep in mind what you're looking at. These particular wells make their water in the 140, 150 foot range. So we're not even in those areas where we really need to be concerned about our wells per se and our pumps. So again, it's time to make some action, but I don't want everyone to think the sky is falling. This is these are graphs of what this well has done in the past, and again, you'll see the sharp decline. You see the sharp decline here and here, and very typical this time in the summer. So again, a very similar curve to what we see. We've been really looking at this, hoping for rain, and it hasn't happened, or we would have already seen some pretty significant rebounds. You see in these areas when you have rain in the summer, what happens. So we're we're proposing that Gary enact stage 3 and go from there. Does anyone have any questions?
I do, but I'm trying to think of how I want to ask it. Give me just a second here,
All right.
Fred. I guess my question, first of all, is we're looking at a 140-foot bottom on these wells. Is that what you're saying, or is that where its draw is from?
That's where they make their water. They're 400 feet deep.
Okay, 400 feet deep.
Correct.
So if we're sitting at 90 right now, are you projecting ahead what you think we might be looking at come August? If things continue as they seem to be?
You know, I anticipate our rates to come in line, and I don't see our wells going below 100.
Is that based on, and I'm not questioning you, you definitely are the expert. I just want to kind of understand from my own peace of mind what we're looking at.
Right. This is a big cavity of water, what we're looking at in Ellenberger, and it really presents well on this side of town.
What's its recharge right now with no rain and the rivers going south the way they have?
You have soil moisture through this whole area that takes a long time to get down there. It's definitely not readily available right now, but that's how it recharges. So it definitely needs rain to recharge also. So you have a huge pool of water that we obviously need to protect, but you know, as far as what I anticipate in August, I anticipate it being at the bottom of this graph. So that's what I would see.
Okay.
So in the future, we should be, as a council, we should be looking at the development of another well field.
I think that's one thing to look at, and we also need to encourage our residents to use their water wisely at the same time. We use a lot of water per capita.
More than San Antonio, correct?
I think, well, San Antonio is in the forefront of water conservation, particularly for a city of their size. They do a phenomenal job. We put their rates against ours, it would be a little embarrassing.
You and I had talked about that before, the difference in the usage between us and some of the larger municipalities in the area. Do you think that an appeal from the council, Mr. Mayor, perhaps with this stage recommendation that's going to go out possibly in the utility bill, might also be helpful, something of a personal nature?
I think so. Matt, I've already started taking Boy Scout showers.
I can tell.
All right, for those of you who are uninitiated as to what a Boy Scout shower is, it is a water conservation shower where you soap and turn off the water, you soap, and then you rinse. It is not Mr. Dooley's suggestion that you take a shower once every 3 weeks, whether you need to or not. But there are little things that I think every citizen can do to conserve this resource. And this is not something that we should only do during the hot summer months. This is something that we need to be doing all the time, because there's a set amount of water in the hydrologic cycle, and some of it's in the atmosphere. Of course, right now, not too much is in the atmosphere, but everyone needs to do whatever they can do to conserve and to use this resource as wisely as possible. And now, I think with this severe drought, there are signs that this could be the same kind of cycle that occurred in the 50s, and then also, I guess, in the late 20s and 30s. All kinds of causes, but the fact is it's hot outside, and the wells are going. We are pumping an abnormally lot of water. The pumps are running pretty much flat out right now, and we are supplying the needs of the citizens. And anything that we as individual citizens can do to reduce demand helps everybody in our community. I don't think the enacting stage 3 water restrictions, that is according to ordinance. The city manager will make that determination, and he will act accordingly. And we will. I would ask the city that when the city staff, that when that decision has been made, that we actively seek means to inform the public through every possible means that we can think of: radio, TV, passenger pigeon, banners across Main Street,
Poppy's Barbershop.
Yeah, Gold's Barbershop. Stick a sign on the newly trimmed cedar tree in front of City Hall.
Don't forget LED sign.
Couldn't resist. And then the city manager has the authority to enact stage 4 and stage 5.
Yes.
Whenever appropriate. Okay.
Yes.
When is stage 3 to get back?
Tomorrow.
When Mr. Neffendorf will issue the edict tomorrow. Item number 9 is receive an update and information on the Public Works and Engineering departments and on various public works projects throughout the city.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We put this together a while back, excuse me, and presented to Planning and Zoning Commission just to give them an update of where we are and kind of let them know what we do and who we are. So we figured we'd take the time to send it to you guys as well. A couple of quick facts on where we're at in the city of Fredericksburg. Per 2010 census, we've had an increase of about 18% in population to 10,530 residents. The city limits contains a little over 5,500 acres of land, and when we put the ETJ in there, we contain almost 15,000 acres of land that Brian's group and our group has to look at and try and look at the development and growth of that. Out of these, the Public Works and Utilities Department maintain and manage over $40 million worth of assets, and we operate on a yearly budget approaching $20 million with less than 50 employees. So, kind of get into what the Public Works, Utilities, and Engineering departments are and who they are and what they do. That includes the Street Department, the Water and Wastewater Department, the Electric Department, the Sanitation Department, which includes the Recycling Department, and then the Engineering Department. And if anyone has any questions anytime, please feel free to stop me. First, we'll go through the Street Department. And this is a picture of their building and the fleet shop over at the Consolidated Warehouse. Our street guys maintain over 98 miles of streets and right-of-way. It's almost 475 acres of pavement that they manage. They provide the personnel for the management and repair of our fleet vehicles and equipment, and that's all of our fleet for all of our departments. They provide the personnel for the leaf pickup, which we do in the fall and the spring, and the brush pickup, which we do all year long. They're the first guys to provide road closures and traffic control during hazardous weather. If it ever does rain again, they'll be out putting out barricades. In accidents and public events, they provide all traffic control for all the parades and etc. on Main Street. These guys provide help and service and equipment to every department in the city, and those would be other public works departments, and I think they even help out the parks department on occasion. They maintain the streets, and that includes patching, paving, and all the new construction. Maintain the alleys, the right-of-way, which includes mowing, spraying, and trimming brush. The street and traffic signs and all the traffic control. Striping of parking spaces, no parking zones, and the rest of the associated traffic control. Bridges and drainage ways and detention ponds, which is something that has just now become something that we really have more of in the new subdivisions. These guys have a total staff of 16 people, and their 2010 budget was $2.7 million. Going to water and wastewater department. That's a picture of our Gaiman Lane storage tank and booster station. These guys maintain over 130 miles of water line and 93 miles of sanitary sewer line. And they operate and maintain the overall water distribution system, sanitary sewer collection system, and treatment system, including all water mains, sewer mains, force mains, valves, manholes, clean-outs, blow-off valves, fire hydrants, lift stations, storage tanks, pump stations, and etc. They also operate and maintain the 2.5 million gallon per day wastewater plant, which is across the street here, 18 sanitary sewer lift stations, 12 groundwater wells that provide water to the city, 3.8 million gallons worth of water storage and 5 storage tanks, 14 booster pumps, which keep our water pressure up. They also manage the 2 effluent lines, the ponds, and the associated pumping stations. And they operate and maintain the SCADA system.
Explain what that is, please.
That is Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition. Acronym.
And in layman's terms, that's what? Automatic meter reading, isn't it?
No, it's more controls pumps and how they operate based on tank levels, well levels, pressure, and etc. And it's something we're really working on to upgrade.
And Craig, at this juncture, will you explain what the ARM is?
I will if I knew what the ARM was.
The automatic, the
AMR.
Oh, AMR.
There we go.
Okay.
We also have an AMR
That's
system.
The ARM. That's
yeah.
The AMR. Okay.
Okay. The AMR system we have in town, which I guess we put in 05, 07, something like that. There, is a system that provides automatic meter reading, and we have it on our water system and our electric system. It's really great on the electric system. We've had a few issues on the water system, and we're continuing to address those with the initial provider, and they're going to replace our water meters in the near future, probably this fall again, all the way through the entire city. So we'll have a whole-scale replacement on AMR on water again. When it works, it's a fantastic system. I'll give you one good example. Is we have scripts that mine this. You get a ton of data with these systems, and we have scripts written mainly by our staff, or the ideas by our staff. They're like, hey, why don't we try and mine this data and look for this trend or this trend? And this can get to, excuse me, some water management as well. But they call me one day and they're like, "Hey, you have a leak at your house." So I'm like, "Well, I'm trying to be pretty proficient with my water usage." And I look inside, can't see anything. Look outside, can't see anything. So we try to find this leak we can see it on the meter. It's about 3/4 of a gallon an hour, just to show you how tight it is. So after about 3 weeks, we find this, and a tree root had grown into our line, and there's a pinhole leak. And it took a long time to present, but we knew about it. And our staff's constantly calling people and telling them, hey, we think you have a leak. So basically, we can mine this data out of our AMR every night. Theoretically, every night, there should be a period where you should have zero usage. And regardless if you get up once or you get up twice during the night, there's still going to be a period where you should have zero usage. So we can go through and mine these readings and look for people who have a consistent flow. And then we'll notify our guys to go look at the meter one if we see it, and then go ahead and notify the resident. So on that same note, we intend to have a script written that mines that data to see who's watering at night. So it will be a very similar process. We'll look for someone who's using 700, 800,000 gallons a night, and we have the ability to correlate it with their address, and will be a very similar process, and we'll be able to notify those people as well.
Thank you.
Back into this group has a staff of 12 people, and they had a 2010 budget of $4.3 million. Next, the electric department. It's a picture of their facility over at the Consolidated Warehouse. These guys maintain over 89 miles of overhead line and 7 miles of underground distribution, along with the 5,473 meters that are put in on the electric system. They maintain 8 circuits of 7,200 volt 3-phase power lines. They also maintain the city fiber optic network, do any splicing and anything that's needed with that. Provide labor and equipment for all construction within the city limits. These guys, we don't use any contractors. If it's new construction, we do it. They're on call 24/7, 365, and they really do a good job providing reliable electric service. These guys also operate and maintain all the metering equipment, capacitor banks, switches, and circuit breakers. They place and install poles and transformers in all new distribution construction within the city's electric territory. They have a staff of 6 people and a 2010 budget of $11,649,000. You know, the majority of that is power purchase. So just so we know kind of where that number comes from. Moving on to the sanitation department, it's a project that may look familiar to some of you guys. This is the newest cell that we've built out there, and I guess we'd been in it a little less than a week or a little over a week at that point. But this is the newest cell we've built recently. These guys provide weekly refuse pickup for over 4,700 customers. They operate and maintain all their own automated garbage trucks. They do, along with the rest of our departments, primarily street department and water department, construct and operation of the city landfill. They also man the recycling center. These guys have a staff of 10 people, and they had a 2010 budget of $2.5 million. Next, the engineering department, which is upstairs with us, with all 5 of us. We provide the following services. We review all the site plans, plats, construction plans, drainage studies, and public works engineering projects. We provide surveying and engineering support for all the public works departments and their projects, as well as other city departments. We do the permitting, and we're the liaison to all the regulatory agencies, such as TCQ, EPA, LCRA, Texas Water Development Board, Hill Country Underground Water District, and TxDOT. We do all the budgeting, along with Mr. Neffendorf, for all the public works departments. We provide all the GPS, GIS, and mapping system operations and maintenance for all the maps you see in all the departments. We provide direction to citizens when they come in with questions with regards to their floodplain issues. We provide the inspection of all the public works departments, construction projects, and all site development projects that include public infrastructure. And one that takes a fair amount of time is we have daily interaction with citizens regarding all these facilities and all the services provided by the Public Works Department. So we field the calls and we point them in the right direction. And we have a staff of 5 people, which includes our inspector. I think that's the last part of this little brief infomercial of our services, if you will. So if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to field them now.
Council, questions?
I have one.
Okay, Mr. Secretary.
Craig, can you tell us what the fiber optic system is, who's on it, where it connects to, that type of thing? Give us a little details about the fiber optic. I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah, the city received some funding, I guess through the TIF grants. Is that correct? Through the TIF grants before I was here, and we're able to build a fiber backbone through the city. Through this, we're able to connect all the high schools, the county, the law enforcement center building, the Convention and Visitors Bureau, the Golden Hub. We used to connect the ag buildings. We connect all of our facilities. We connect a lot of our SCADA components and things we need to communicate with it. I think that's it. Is there anyone I left out?
Is Texas Tech on that? Are they on our hub or they have their own? Hill Country University.
They're pursuing their own fiber. The last biggest one I left out is the hospital. So the main players are generally the school, the hospital, and us. And there's cost sharing things that are put together in there, but on that we own and maintain the fiber, and we basically lease them dark fiber.
Okay, thank you.
How are things going on Morning Glory?
Morning Glory hasn't received a whole lot of attention, and that's something I'd like to discuss with you guys this evening. Is dependent on what your wish is. We can definitely send that out and stick a consultant on it. Our workload is such that, particularly with some of the electric and wastewater issues we've had to deal with internally, and permitting wise, that we haven't been able to work on as much as we'd like to. So it's either we can, if the need is such that we need to send it out, we can. It's definitely something difficulty wise, it's something we can handle internally.
But it's a matter of time and resources.
That's correct. That's correct.
Well, my personal feeling is I would like to get at the point where you can tell us we are going to start shoveling dirt on this day.
Well, that can be done. It's just a matter of what your tolerance is to getting that date. Is it, again...
What's in the budget?
The original budgets were, when this project was to have been completed, I guess, with the 03 bond package, I think the original budgets were around $400,000.
I think, isn't that what's in this year's budget for that, Karen?
No, it's 600.
675.
So if you're...
And what is the estimated true cost in today's dollars?
$675,000. Now, if we go...
Is that build or are we outsourced with that money?
That would be outsourced.
$675 outsourced.
But that's internal design.
Okay.
So
how much more money do we need for extra to get all the design work done so that we can build?
8 to 10%.
So another $75,000, $67,000.
That's for the design. There'll be bid and construction phase services if we send that out, as well as whatever else they would need.
Craig, do you not see this project going forward without outsourcing that you're asking for a consultant to...
I'm not asking for one.
Well, I'm just saying, in order to move forward from here.
No, it's something we can continue to work on. However, there's a lot of things that have come up in the past 6 months that we didn't anticipate, taking on our schedule. We also built landfill cell. We have a lot of other internal design projects that we're working on that have taken this place as well. So it's something, again, that we can do. It's just, again, what your tolerance and what the importance of having it start on a date, unfortunately. With the
we've been sitting on it for quite a while. That's my concern, is how much longer do we put it to the back burner until it no longer is an issue?
I think that's your concern. I mean, that's if you want to go out now, we'll send it out, and that's fine.
Conceivably, though, what kind of coordination needs to be done with the FISD for bus servicing? When would be the ideal time to work on this so that it is interference with school bus traffic? Is that a concern? Is that something that the FISD can work around?
I think we've discussed this a couple of times previously. Is obviously there's the 2-month break that buses don't run, but this is a much longer duration project. So regardless of if we hit it during that period or not,
we're going to interrupt.
And hopefully they have some availability, some other streets that they can reroute through.
Any idea on how long the project itself would take?
It's a 6 to 8 month project. It's pretty major construction in a tight right of way.
We want to prolong your paying as much as possible.
You're going to have to get yourself a motel room, buddy.
Sounds like it. I do have a 4-wheel drive, though. I can get there.
There's some kind of give you guys an idea of what we have going on, like just in the engineering department alone, which doesn't necessarily involve all our public works departments. The review projects we've had going on in the past couple weeks: Holiday Inn Express, Friendship Village, some minor plats, Fairfield Inn and Suites. Construction projects we currently have, we're working through our East Side sewer line, stake and curb, retaining walls, and we've been, if you've noticed, running our paving project as well. Design projects we have, we're working on currently, Austin Street Bridge, which our consultant has gathered all his data, and we should receive the traffic study that's been generated here in the next week or so. Morning Glory Drive is in the design phase. We've gone through the right-of-way. We've done probably 75% of the topo and started designing from 965 in. Again, it's not a rocket science type project. It just requires some time. Highway 16 South, we've had to provide some sanitary sewer to some customers that have been annexed for a number of years and haven't had service. So it's requiring some bores along Highway 16 and some utility extensions that kind of popped up on our radar. Cherry Street is the exact same situation. We'll be closing down Cherry Street as we extend some sewer through there in the near future. Got a little retaining wall project we've worked through on Cherry Street that's been in the queue for a long time. We have some issues with the Barron Creek siphon, and we're going to put some pumps in there for some customers who used to be able to work on the siphon across Barron's Creek that we're now replacing with the East Side sewer line. SCADA project's a pretty big project in scope that basically replaces all the SCADA we have in the city of Fredericksburg. It's been from the initial design phases of vendors, picking vendors, and it's been pretty invasive. We also have started, as some of you know, about our wastewater treatment plant, about the amount of effluent we're going to have to discharge during the winter. So we have pretty big irrigation projects that we're working on. And we also have some design put together on Friendship Lane dewatering. That's of the detention pond. And those are all things we'll have to come ask for funds for. A lot of ongoing projects that we deal with on a pretty weekly basis that are under construction. Friendship Village, Lindsay Schmidt Dental Clinic, which is nearing completion as far as our projects are. Eastside Sewer Line, Calvary Pentecostal Church, St. Mary's project, Herb Farms, pretty ongoing. We have some things we're working on with Donald Eckhart. Lots of miscellaneous drainage projects, curb installations, and SCADA system. Then there's the one on the end, which has been pretty time consuming. Has been the wastewater treatment plant permit renewal. So those are some things that we have on our plate. So again, I ask that you guys come up with a time on Morning Glory. Again, something we can work in house, but it's we have to pick and choose, as far as what we move to the forefront, and unfortunately, we haven't pushed it to the front when we maybe should have. So
on Morning Glory, we're looking at some more design work. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct.
Okay.
The alignment's been put through. The right of way through there isn't a straight line. So got the center line where we want it, and the curves designed where we want them. And then we've also started to lay out the boxes in the middle.
Okay. Morning Glory has been going on for quite a while, and I personally would like to see us move forward on that and get that off our plate. And if that means that we need to find $67,000 or $70,000 someplace in the budget or take it out of reserves, I for one believe that we need to get on with that project and get it done.
I tend to agree with that. I think we originally had a budget of $400,000, and then we're now at $675,000. The longer we put this project off, it seems like the more it's costing us. I think now is probably a pretty good time to get out there and try to get some bids. So I would say we need to move forward with this project as quickly as possible, and that does require that we need to outsource some of this. And I think we need to do that and see if there's some other ways in the design phase that we can eliminate some of the cost. I'm still not convinced that we need sidewalks on both sides of that street. That's another story for another time, but I think that we do need to move forward on this. That's my opinion.
Any other comments, gentlemen? Thank you, Craig.
It's a very well put together presentation.
Thank you, Craig.
Item number 10 is to discuss and consider creation of a city swimming pool committee and Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. Mr. Segner and Mr. Jones.
Why don't you kick it off, Scott? It's your letter. It is my recommendation, based on our previous council meeting, Mr. Mayor, that we go forward with a formal proclamation that we are forming this pool committee, that we vote accordingly, that we set specific standards for this committee to move forward. And in so doing, I'd like to see it follow these specific guidelines and perhaps more as we discuss this tonight. I'd like it to create a viable and publicly acceptable plan for us, this council, in regards to the future of city pools in Fredericksburg, to identify possible sources of funding, including grants, fundraising, philanthropic efforts, and so forth, to demonstrate the measures taken to solicit maximum community input and involvement, and detail the responses received, to present 3 options for pool configurations and/or locations with projected costs to the council as a part of their final report, and to seek pro bono counsel of respected persons in related fields, sciences, including consultants previously hired by the city. I want the council to appoint this committee during its regular council meeting scheduled for July 5th, 2011. Upon completion of the initial assignment, the committee shall become a permanent Parks and Advisory Board with the mandate to provide community participation and consistent advice to the council concerning issues present, anticipated, or proposed, which relate directly to the City of Fredericksburg parks, excluding the city-owned golf course. This council shall meet publicly on a monthly basis, or as this council directs, and it consists of the same number of persons as I am recommending in this proposal. Such members shall be appointed by the council every 2 years with a term limit of 3 appointments per member. I would like this council to consist of no more than 9 members, with 1 councilman, the city manager, and city parks advisory supervisor serving as ex officio members on that council. They will meet weekly, and they will have a mandate to hold public meetings accordingly. And they are to deliver their findings to the City Council of Fredericksburg within 90 days of their appointment.
All right, Scott, I'd like to elaborate on that a little bit. I think the one thing that this council needs to do is give some clear directive to this committee if that's what we're going to do. Otherwise, 90 days is not going to be a feasible solution. We've got to set some parameters. It's been suggested in the past that we give them a blank sheet of paper and kind of let them run with that, and I can't support that line of thinking. And to me, it's also imperative that this committee or this board also that the city basically invites a member of the Gillespie County Commissioners Court, someone from Hill Country Memorial Hospital and FISD to sit on this board as a non-voting member, but to provide input back and forth between the organizations. To me, that is imperative that we do that. We need to involve the county and some of these other organizations to provide some input here, even though they are not necessarily participating, but maybe they should. Okay? So I think at the very least we should send out a letter of invitation to those organizations. The other thing is that unless we give clear direction to this committee as to specifically what we want, and my line of thinking here is that if they're going to get this blank sheet of paper and go out and come up with their own plan, then we need to be looking more at an advisory board for the parks and recreation system and not just a pool committee, because they could affect other parts of the park system. For example, if they came up and said, let's do something at Old Fair Park, well, that's already been looked at, and it would affect either the soccer field or the baseball field in one form or fashion. So there are other areas of the park system that's going to be affected. And to me, that would dictate that we have a parks and recreation board versus just a pool committee. So if we want to give them clear direction and say, let's go and fix town pool and let's repair the Ladybird pool or replace or whatever is required for either one, that's a different scenario than telling them to go out and look at a different site. And if we look at different sites, then I think this board needs to be Parks and Recreation versus Pool Committee. I think that we should have an outside facilitator come in with the committee and help us move this project along, and let's try to get it done in a timely manner. I personally am frustrated that at this meeting that we are not choosing the members. It has been put off to July the 5th. And I personally haven't seen any advertisements in the paper, and I may have missed this, about the formation of the pool committee in this last newspaper. There's nothing on the website to that effect, that we were wanting this pool committee. Now, we did get, fortunately, 22 members, I just counted, or applicants, I should say, which is good. But we need to figure out how we're going to deal with all those applicants and figure out if we're going to move forward with a pool committee or a parks advisory board. And you heard my reasoning.
I endorse the amendments to my proposal, Mr. Mayor, in principle, pending our discussion on the issue.
All right. Discussion, Councilman? Mr. Pearson, do you have anything? Julie?
To start, your point number 4, present 3 options for pool configurations and or locations with projected costs to the council as part of their final report. I want one option. I want this committee to come out with a recommendation, where it's going to be, what it's going to look like. 3 options, basically you're putting off the decision, putting it back on our shoulders. I want the committee to decide where this pool should be.
And the reason for that number 4, Mr. Pearson, was we were looking at the possibility of doing a survey of the residents of Fredericksburg at some point during this process and being able to give them specific points rather than just generic points I thought would be more helpful. And so wherever that survey were to fall in this process, if it were to fall after the initial recommendation, then that would be most helpful.
Sorry, quite didn't understand that.
Well, my point being that if we're going to offer a survey to the citizens of Fredericksburg, then it would be helpful to give them more specific options rather than just a generic run of several things. We could get back a lot of feedback that would just tie us up for a long period of time. But if we had strong recommendations in 3 specific areas that the community could look at and evaluate, it would be helpful to them as well as to us.
In the course of a bond election? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, no, sir. I'm talking about an actual survey that we had talked about doing as a part of an like we had done or the council had done for the recent pool proposal, put it out to the community and give them a chance to give us feedback out of their utility bills.
Yeah, that's fine, but the committee should eventually come to us with a single proposal. That proposal could be have 2 pools or 1 pool and specify the locations. You've already, I guess, agreed that the 90 days is unreasonable. Is that right?
Depending upon how you formate the committee. If you're going to give them specific guidelines and you tell them to go after town pool and park pool, I think 90 days is feasible.
But why 90 days? What's the reasoning behind limiting it to 90 days?
I want to get this project done and underway. I think we've beat this thing pretty much over several months now, and I think the citizens have spoken that they want something done, and we need to give them that time and get it done and get it over with.
I agree. We need to do it right. But I think 90 days is insufficient. But I don't understand why you're limiting it to 90 days. Say 90 days from beginning of July, August, September. So that makes it end of September. Why are you setting that deadline?
I would think that if we get this thing underway, we should be able to get this onto the bond election in November. And that would be the goal, ultimately, if we can do it in 90 days.
Why is the bond election in November so important?
The sooner we get this done, the cheaper it's going to be, and the sooner we get this thing back in operation.
But if you put it on the bond election in November and it passes, that means you start construction in December or January even. You're still not going to be open for 2012.
But you're also in an off period and would hope to get some better bids back in that time frame.
Well,
if you're going to start construction in the spring, I would think the bids are going to come in higher. That's my reasoning for that.
Who suggested that?
I think that just typically, if you'll look at pool construction in general, they're going to be busier in the summertime than they're going to be in the wintertime.
I don't see why. I don't understand why.
Well, that's something for the pool committee to figure out.
Right, I agree. Also, I think if you get it on the bond election in next May, that's still going to give you sufficient time to get under construction and have everything ready for 2013.
Well, I don't deny the fact, Mr. Pearson, that we could stretch this all the way out to next May if we choose to. But I believe that under the conditions that we've been with this recent election, the concerns that are in the community, the more quickly that we move forward and the more quickly we set a mandate that we are trying to move this project forward in an expeditious fashion, that we're trying very much to meet the needs and the interests and the concerns of the community directly, and we put this project to bed and move on to the other issues that are facing the city that are of equal greater importance, rather than stretch this thing out over the next 10 months or 8 months or however long that we perceive this this committee needs to have. And then we're facing this problem and an election year and other issues coming into May and nothing settled, no direction, no information. I think it's prudent on our parts, intelligent on our parts, to move as quickly and as expeditiously as possible and get the information out there and move forward so that we can move on.
I agree with that 100%.
The people we've had so far volunteering for the pool committee, I see several of them on there who are specifically interested in the pool issue, and after talking with them, are not at all interested in the Parks and Recreation Board. I think these are two totally different organizations. I tried to emphasize this in the last meeting, that the pool committee is basically a project-based committee. They have a project to accomplish, build a pool or 2 pools, whatever. Your Parks and Recreation Board is an ongoing board that's going to be around for 10, 20 years or whatever. And the kind of people on that board are probably going to be completely different to the kinds of people that have volunteered for the pool committee. So I don't understand why you continue to try to marry the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board with this pool committee. I also tried to explain last meeting that you guys need to go through a budget cycle to understand the budget constraints that we are under. I don't think it's fair for you. You don't have this perspective right now to suggest a Parks and Recreation Board, because you're going to expect these people to go away and spend a lot of time and come up with a long-range plan, and unless you know what you can promise those people, what those people can expect in terms of, they're going to come to us with a budget over the next 10 years. You have no perspective about what we can afford or what we should afford for the Parks and Recreation Committee Board. To me, this whole Parks and Recreation thing, either to me, you're expressing a dissatisfaction with prior councils who have not perhaps put sufficient emphasis on the parks and recreation facilities we have here in town, or you're expressing a dissatisfaction with the job that Jimmy Alexander has done as Director of Parks and Recreation. I think that's very unfair until you have gone through a budget cycle to understand that Parks and Recreation is basically, unfortunately, the low man on the totem pole. Unfortunately, Jimmy Alexander comes to us every year with a budget and a list of proposals. And when it comes to deciding whether he gets some of his items on his list, or we have to buy some new radio equipment for the police, guess what's going to happen? Mm-hmm. I emphasize that you guys need a better perspective. Let's wait till after the pool committee is finished, after you've gone through a budget cycle, and then you guys have a better perspective. And if you persist in wanting a Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, then I think you're much better. You have a much better perspective for proposing that. You have a much better perspective for giving those people a direction and a potential budget for over the next 5 or 10 years. And therefore, you're not going to disappoint those people, because basically you're going to give them a set of expectations that hopefully they can be happy with.
Mr. Mayor, I believe that the council member misunderstands the application of this particular committee and the Parks and Advisory Board as we have proposed it. And I'd like to clarify a few issues, if I may, Mr. Mayor, as to his comments. First of all, I don't believe that a budget cycle is going to change some of the basic concerns that exist in this city and that have come out of this recent election. I don't believe that an education in the budget, which I truly believe is going to be very valuable to both Councilman Segner and myself, is going to change the outlook that I have heard from the community and that I personally hold. It's not a judgment on Mr. Alexander. It's not a judgment on Mr. Nevendorf or previous councils to suggest that there are concerns out there. Whether they were not met for budgetary reasons, or whether they were left on the table or just totally ignored, is not for me to judge. The issues before our community are, we have some park concerns. The most important, the most serious, the most pressing right now to our community is the issue of our pools. And council members, ladies and gentlemen gathered here, I will submit to you that it is vital that whatever we do, whatever direction we go, whatever action we take as a council, that we take into account all of the effects that the things that we're about to do will have, whether they impact the soccer teams, the baseball teams, the tennis clubs, whoever it may be affected by the decisions that this committee will come back with. A Parks and Advisory Board is not necessarily a mandate to spend money. It is an avenue, it's a vehicle for our community to have a voice, to speak to us directly, to provide for those who don't come to council meetings on a regular basis, or those who don't have the ability to speak to us directly, to have a group that they can go to, that they can work with, and that we can get things accomplished, or at least proposed, so that we can be aware of the concerns that they have. I would submit to you that Mr. Alexander has done a fantastic job in his position, and I have no question of his competency. But that does not mean that there aren't concerns and issues that need to be addressed by this council and by this community, and they need to be addressed quickly. Now, as for this committee that we want to propose, I have agreed, and we did in last council meeting agreed, that we would title it as a pool committee specifically for the purposes of solving the problem of our pool issues. However, we also agreed, in principle, without a vote, that this committee would become a Parks and Advisory Board that would help assist us in the issues that face our community, as I've already addressed. I see no reason why this would be a problem. I see no concerns that are directly out there. Those who do not wish to move over into a Parks and Advisory Board would be more than able to step aside. I think with 22 names and probably many more out there that are interested, we have more than enough people who have a passion for the park system in this community to manage this board and to make it functional and make it worthwhile to the community. its actual mandates, its actual jobs, its actual commitments and so forth would be something that we, the council, would set. We would agree together to set those parameters. I am not inviting a wholesale run on the budget. I just merely want to give the community every opportunity to be involved in this process from here forward and to avoid the concerns that came up in this recent election, both with the pool and others.
Mr. Mayor, if I may also address Mr. Pearson's comments. You know, I appreciate your advice, Mr. Pearson, about waiting through the budget cycle, but I have trouble understanding how so many other cities can have parks and recreation boards and they all be wrong and we be right by the way we're doing it. And I'm not about to criticize Jimmy Alexander because I think he does a tremendous job based on the amount of funding that he receives. And I think that he has been shortcut many a time for many reasons, and I don't know all of those reasons, and you're suggesting that the budget cycle will teach me that. But we can't continue to always cut in that area. There has to be a look at other areas and say maybe those police radios can be put off one more year. I'm just using that as an example. I'm not suggesting, Paul, that I'm going to cut your radio funds, but there are other areas that you look at in the budget and say you have to have a vision and a plan going forward. And that should be a 5, 10, 15-year plan for the park system. We have got some other issues out there that need to be addressed, and they have been overlooked for so many years, and you know what they are. We've looked at them. And some point down the road, we're going to have to address them, and the cost is going to continue to be more at that time. So I just can't imagine that all these other cities that have these parks and recreation boards are doing it all wrong. So I just feel like if we're going to do a committee that's going to look at this pool system, whether it be a one pool solution now or whether we're going to continue with what we have with the 2 pool sites, that they have got to take in consideration whatever they do is going to affect some of those other areas. And then we're going to have to deal with those expenses. If it's to move the soccer field or to move a baseball field, then I think a Parks Advisory Board can look at the whole picture and realize, hey, wait a minute, maybe we can't do a one pool or maybe we can't do it over here because it's going to cost us too darn much money. So they need to look at a bigger picture, and I don't want this committee to come back to us with, all right, this is what we're going to do. You figure out how you're going to pay for it. I want them to take part in that. I want them to figure out, can they raise some funds? Can they go to philanthropists? Can they get some money there? But to come to us and say, well, we came back with the same decision of an aquatic center, and it's going to cost $3.0 million instead of 3.2, that wouldn't be acceptable to me. Thank you.
Mr. Boone?
On your point number 5, it says, seek pro bono counsel of respected persons in the related fields of sciences, including consultants previously hired by the city. That implies that all of the above, the entire proposal that you have, should be accomplished without spending any money to pay for research, design, or advice. Who and where will these recommendations come from, and how can we rely on accurate information from pro bono respected persons? Even as we might continue to use Kimberly Horn for further help, that's going to cost us too. They've been paid up to this point and have some information that will carry forward into another design, but what we are seeking is a new concept and possibly a new location. If the group is to sell the new concept, who will do the storyboards and visuals needed to present the plan to the public? These kinds of things do not come for free. I agree with Mr. Pearson on the 30 days or on the 90-day time frame. I think that as we've gone out to solicit names, we did not disclose to anybody that we talked to that we were talking about rolling them into a permanent Parks and Recreation Board. You know, beyond the budget cycle for the Parks and Recreation Board, I can't see why they wouldn't be able to meet or what they would want to meet for on a monthly basis. I just don't see it. With all of our other permanent boards, planning and zoning, historic review, and board of adjustment, they have regularly scheduled meetings but only meet on an as-needed basis as dictated by citizen and staff needs. So, I can agree on the title, pool committee, but there isn't very much else on here I agree with.
Mr. Mayor, may I address that? As those were direct questions to me.
No, they were not.
Or to the proposal. I apologize.
Okay, I'll listen to what you have to say.
Okay, and I promise
this is your third bite at the apple.
I apologize, sir. I just want to address these things as they come. Point number 5, Mr. Dooley, was a result of my discussions with Mr. Neffendorf and Mr. Alexander, that we had already received a great deal of information from Kimley Horn, a great deal of information from previous consultants, that we had laid a strong foundation that the council would have to go forward, and that there were some other aspects of those contracts that had not yet been completely fulfilled. We had done kind of a tit-for-tat arrangement with them, and there may still be room for opportunity to get additional advice, additional support for the proposals. As to your 90 days, I stand with what I said before. Your Parks Board meeting on a monthly basis, I have no problem, Mr. Dooley, with us changing the wording of that to as needed or as the community feels that it is necessary. That's not a problem. This is my first proposal to the council of this nature, so if the wording needs to be altered, I have no problem with that. But the basics of what...
You got to understand that every word that you put on that piece of paper means something. And when you say monthly, that means monthly.
Mr. Dooley, I'm fully aware of the meaning behind what I put, and I stand behind what I put, but I am also amiable to hearing other points of view, and if pointed out, I have no problem with making adjustments where necessary.
Thank you.
Tommy?
I'll rest for a moment. You have something to say as well.
This is your last opportunity, because as mayor, I reserve the right to be last.
So get it
I suppose I would as well.
So here it is.
I'm flexible too as far as the 90 days and meeting monthly. That all can be adjusted as far as I'm concerned. And if we need to get some additional information from the consultants, much as I hate to say it, it's going to hurt.
Hurts.
Okay? And I'll tell you why it hurts, Tim. Because, I raised the question at the last meeting about the contracts and whether we got what we paid for. And I sat down with Jimmy and I sat down with Gary, and they both showed me that we got extra things that we didn't pay for, that offset some of the other things. Okay? And the one thing that we still don't have today, unless Jimmy's got it in the last few days, is what the projected operating cost of that new facility is going to be. We did not get a geotechnical of the town pool site. So even though we have all this information from Kimley Horn, depending upon what we do, we may still not have what we need, and it's going to cost some more. There's undoubtedly that's what it's going to be. But I'm very disappointed in the consultants and what they gave us or presented for us. And I think that we should have gotten the geotechnical. And if they were going to change their contract, there should have been some change orders or some documentation in there that says we're not going to give you this or that because we're giving you this. And what basically they did was looked at the old Fair Park and spent some time on that. So that's all fair. Okay? But there's nothing to document that. Okay? So if we have to use consultants, so be it, but it better be limited as far as I'm concerned, because I don't believe that we got everything that we should have. And the projected cost is at the top of my list. I don't see how you can move forward on any kind of project without knowing what it's going to cost you to operate it. Okay, Tom.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
Thanks.
I am done.
You're done. That will be seen. Tommy, one thing that you raised was an issue of inclusion of the hospital and Gillespie County and the FISD in I guess, any kind of pool committee. And I had the opportunity to chat with Dr. Mark Williamson of the FISD and Dr. Mike Williams of the hospital and Judge Mark Strayer about those issues. And I asked each of them this question: do you feel the FISD needs representation on or a liaison with the City of Fredericksburg Pool Committee? And if they said yes, I asked them the question, who would you like that liaison to be? My discussion with Dr. Williamson, he said on the pool, probably not, and his rationale was that they would not be a monetary contributor to the pool, so they felt that they really didn't need any say in where the pool was going to be located. In talking with Dr. Williams at the hospital, he said about representation, yes, but it's not as important to the hospital as duplication of infrastructure. So I asked Mike to explain to me what he meant by that. One of the people that I've suggested for the pool committee is the head of the director of the wellness center, and Dawn Bourgeois. And what Dr. Williams said was that he could see her as being a liaison with the hospital, but really no need for a formal liaison. At one point, there was an attempt at a working group between the City of Fredericksburg, Gillespie County, the FISD, and the hospital over a community recreation facility, which would have included a pool. That facility, really, the discussions on that facility never really got off the ground. And Dr. Williams also stated to me that the hospital would not be financially be prepared to engage and to become involved in this activity. In my discussion with Judge Strayer, he surveyed the Commissioner's Court, and the Commissioner's Court has never felt that it was an issue of involvement for the county in a Fredericksburg community pool. So I've got that's basically what the three big organizations, and the other three entities in town had to say about that. As far as the pool committee, I don't think one of the proposals in Mr. Jones is that have 9 voting members. I believe that this committee needs to have more general input. The LCRA has Barbara Hoffman at the LCRA has offered a facilitator, a mediator, professional facilitator that LCRA offers to different groups and municipalities. I think it would be a good idea to what the facilitator would do would just be make sure that the committee is focused, they stay on track, and they're moving toward the goal that they have to meet. My feeling is that a pool committee needs to meet when they need to meet. They will get together. Right now, we've got 20 to 22 names of citizens that have expressed an interest in serving, and I think that's great. I believe that we as a council can come up with some ground rules to help this committee move forward on the issue of a community pool. I have an issue with the 90-day deadline, and the major issue right now is that 60 days from today would be August 20th, and the last day to call a bond election for the November bond date is on August 15th. So I feel that this committee needs to be given time to investigate, to survey the public by numerous means. Could be they could send out surveys, we could do survey, they could do SurveyMonkey, whatever. But they need the opportunity to gather information in a systematic way and come up with a good solution. I still had some problems with the pro bono council. I think that we should. It's going to cost. If we're going to do this right, we as a community have to be. We have to be willing to spend some money. And as far as a pool cost goes, or as the parks go, okay, we can do anything as a community. We can do anything we want to do. We can build any project we want to build, as long as we are willing to pay for it. And the two ways of paying for it are either through property taxes or through bonded indebtedness. Mr. Pearson alluded to previous city councils over the last 20 years. I will be the first to admit that when it comes to budget, one of the guiding lights of the 6 city councils that I've been on has been we are always very concerned with the tax rate. We as a community pride ourselves on having a low tax rate. For the 2 previous years, we have gone with the effective tax rate. We have not increased the tax rate, while valuations might have gone up. When push comes to shove and you're making a decision on, I've only got this much money to spend and I can spend it on A or B, sometimes when you spend it on A, the opportunity cost of that decision is that there's not enough money left for B over here. And we can make sure that B, or the park system, has money if we take the political will as not only a council, but also as a citizenry that, yeah, we believe that parks are important. But I think the issue that's before us right now, that was highlighted in the bond election that was held last May, that was overwhelmingly defeated, was that the citizens of this community believe that there is a different solution to the community pool issue than the one that was presented by 3 of the 5 people that are sitting up here right now. And I believe that we should let the public, people that have indicated their desire to work on this issue, give them the opportunity to do so. So we all know that we will not have a new pool, by the summer of 2012. It would be physically impossible. So we're looking at having something open in the summer of 2013. So why not give a new committee the time, the resources, the expertise that they need to come up with a new solution to this problem, whether it's a pool on the existing platform on Travis Street or it's somewhere else. But I think we owe it to the community to at least start the process where the citizens can get together and say, this is what we want for the community. Finally, I am not in favor of rolling a pool committee into a Parks and Recreation committee. I believe that the council, we can have discussions on the necessity of what a Parks and Recreation committee will do. I had a nice conversation with Malcolm Matthews of the city of Kerrville this afternoon, who is the director of parks in Kerrville and the former director of parks in San Antonio, Texas. And he has given me some ideas, and he gave me some insights into the function of parks committees. And there might be a function that would be beneficial to the city of Fredericksburg, but I believe the issue before us now is the issue of what we are going to do about the pool situation in Fredericksburg, Texas. So at this time, I will entertain a motion. Item number 10 said consider creation of a city swimming pool committee and Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. First, before we take a motion, is there anyone in the public that would like to speak to this issue before we go in? This is the way this is going to happen is we'll take public discussion, but once we have a motion on the floor and we begin any discussion on that motion among the council, we will not take any public discussion. Larry, did you want to say something about this?
It's been said that the devil is in the details. And as I listen to this tonight, aside from you guys and we three, it seemed to me like the details were coming toward this group that should be. If the council wants to set a whole bunch of criteria for the committee, you're really telling them they don't need to do anything. They don't need a facilitator, Tom. What they need is a chairman.
And they will
focus.
They will elect their own.
And they will elect that chairman. You've got to assume that the people who are going to do this know what they're supposed to do.
They wouldn't.
They have a mission as directed by the council, and let them go ahead and do it.
That's what
They're not asking them. They're not going to be asking you for money first. Absolutely not. There's no need. There's no need for consultants. And of course, when you talk about an advisory board, and I know that's a difficult subject.
But that's a subject different from the pool committee.
Exactly.
Right.
It can be, of course.
Right.
And it may merge into one. It would be logical. But they certainly aren't going to come and ask for money. Their only project would be to develop a long-range plan for the continued development and operation of the parks and recreation facilities in the city. That's an easy one. It's an advisory board. It's not a budgetary function for them to come for money. So, your pool committee, pick them, give them a job,
and let them do it.
Let them come back to you with a solution. You don't have to tell them what to do. The people who voted against the proposed plan obviously have strong feelings about it. And they will do the job. Guaranteed. Okay?
Thank you. That's my feeling too.
I think so. And the time, of course, 90 days isn't enough time. But that isn't even important. You're not going to be able to do anything to have it ready for 12. 13 is doable, certainly. It would be easy to come up with a plan or a recommendation with an estimate of cost, which the council could then act on, meaning going out and getting bids. That's an easy thing to do. But to have 22 members, I know you're not thinking about that many, would be quite a committee. And if you have, 7 or 9, and 3 of them are ex officio members, that's kind of diluting the system. You're saying you want 3 ex officio members. One would be a councilman, one would be the city manager, one would be the park and recreation director. You've already got 3 people that you control, essentially. Yes, you do.
Basically, that was Mr. Segner's. That was part of Mr. Segner's and Mr. Jones.
But they're not voting members.
Right, they're not voting members. They are there for my understanding is they would be there for informational purposes.
And they're in addition to the 7 or 9.
You could bore them to death.
Good. Very easily.
I think it's a wonderful thought, but the committee could call on people. They don't have to sit through these meetings. They could be called on. That would be right. No. You're going to offer every resource available.
Sure. Oh yeah.
Now, I don't think it's nice to lecture each other about who should sit through a budget session. But that's neither here nor there. I do think that if an advisory board is a difficult apple to swallow, then create a committee. Give them a simple task and let them do the job. They'll do it. Okay?
That's what I'm doing. Thank you. Mr. Moldenhauer.
Good evening. I'm Walter Moldenhauer. I think Councilman Jones way back started with the notion of a Parks and Recreation Board from the very beginning as let's say a overall look instead of just a focused look on one particular issue that comes under Parks and Recreation. And at this point, the full committee or the Parks and Recreation Board, either one can do the job. And I'm ready for y'all to pick one and let's go. So full committee, fine. Parks and Rec committee, fine. And that be their first agenda, fine. It's time to go with it. And who's upset about the last election? Last election caused all of this, right? So I guess a lot of people could be upset about it because we spent a lot of money, we were ready to do something, and then we got stopped. But you need to forget all that. Yes, it might have been, it's not just irresponsible. What the voters are saying now, we don't want to waste any more money. We want to do it right now, or in their terms, right. So if you're mad about anything, forget it. You need to move on.
No one's mad up here.
Okay, well, it was said earlier by one of the councilmen that it sounded like somebody's upset about a prior election. So that's what I'm bringing up. And you all know that you're here to do your job, and we elected you, so we expected you to take care of us. But we also are going to hold you accountable. So it's a two-way street, and we're going to watch it.
That's called representative democracy.
Exactly.
Okay.
So,
thank you, Walter.
You're welcome.
Russ Rose, this is more or less a suggestion for the committee or whatever you all for. I understand that the land for the pool that was there about 50 years ago was donated to the city. The suggestion would be to find a group of people that have land in the city that would be willing to donate it and name the pool after them. Might get a good deal that way.
Thank you.
OBrien. This feels like where I started this whole thing. When I came in on the special meeting one night and they were gathering all these petitions against the pool, and all of a sudden there was this big outcry. Everything was stopped. And the old council, 3 of you guys were on it, had to actually vote to put a ballot measure in, and you had to control the wording because you were openly soliciting the people that were putting the ballot together. So this time you control the wording of the vote. Now you're unclear of the outcome. You perceive the outcome was that they don't like the option that you gave them. That's true. And I've been here for 2 weeks since the last meeting asking people about the pool, and they thought they stopped that. They're really kind of curious as to the fact that you're still working on a design. You know, you're going to move the pool somewhere. And I'm kind of curious.
So you think that the pool, what you're feeling is that the vote in May was a vote against pools.
A vote against this pool project.
Okay, there was the pool project at Lady Bird.
Right.
Now this is a different, Steve, this is a different pool project.
I know.
Okay.
It's a new one, right?
Okay. And it could be back on Town Pool. It could be Travis Street. It could be right out here.
What I want to make clear is that you need to still address the issue of the pool in town and why you can't fix the thing.
You can't fix it.
That whole point, hold on.
You can't fix it.
I know you're the mayor or whatever, but I do need to get this point across. Okay, and so that pool you can't fix. Okay, tell me why. Right?
You can.
That design document, I hear it's been available for a long time.
Mr. O'Brien, last meeting you asked me for that document. I gave you my business card. I said, Mr. Bryan, call me and I'll get you. Here's the document. I've been waiting for you to contact me. There it is.
Very good. I'll review it. I've been talking to some experts and they definitely want to take a look at it. Have you read that document yourself?
Absolutely.
Has everybody else on this board read that document? Okay, good. So when I go ahead and read that document and I look it up over the USGS and talk to a bunch of people, you'll be able to talk to it point by point and tell me, that that's a bad decision. Is this new committee that you're setting up going to be tasked to look at that decision as well as to make a decision whether to keep the pool in town and fix it? Because you said, the former council made a statement that would cost up to $80,000 to fix the pool in town. I have it recorded, and I can bring it back to you if you want. But let's leave that aside. You spent $40,000 on the initial project, which we don't even know if you got the deliverables yet, and then $10,000 of what other planning while you were waiting for the vote to go through. So now you're in it for like $50,000 out of $80,000 is what I'm seeing. So now you're continuing to spend money, and you haven't fixed the pool. So I want you to fix the pool myself, and I want to, so I look forward to reading that document. That's it.
Thank you.
Talents, information, and to me, being fair, having people step forward, we ask them
Longerhans. All right, do I hear a motion on item number 10?
Whoops, John Detmer.
John Detmer.
Last chance, John.
Very brief comments. I hope you won't task the committee with having to figure out how to raise funds to pay for the school, like grant writing or whatever. I think that would be a burden for the division to deal with. I think figuring out how many schools to build and where to build them and how to complete it is a collection of things.
Thank you, John. All right. Do I hear a motion?
I motion we accept item number 10, the creation of a city pool and swimming pool committee, Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, as stated in the proposal, with the following revisions and amendments: to eliminate the 90-day requirement, to place in the writing that the Parks and Advisory Board would be, once the committee is completed, that the Parks and Advisory Board would be upon the vote of the council to create, using the existing members as those who wish to continue to participate, and that the committee, that we change point number 4 from present 3 options for pool configurations to present option or options for pool configurations to the council. With those amendments in mind, Mr. Mayor, I put this forward for a vote.
Okay. Is there a second to that?
Is it possible to amend that slightly?
I will accept your amendments pending hearing them.
Okay, fair enough. Just like to add to that we also direct staff to and city attorney to start gathering the information of Parks Advisory Boards throughout the area from other cities, so that we have some examples of that when the time comes that we can move forward at the completion of the committee, so that we're not delaying things any further.
Do you accept or reject the friendly amendment?
I accept. I apologize, Mr. Mayor. I accept the friendly amendment.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor of creation of a city swimming pool committee and Parks and Recreation Advisory Board with the changes mentioned. Signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
The motion fails 3-2.
Mr. Mayor, I have an alternate proposal that I would like to present this evening. I have a copy for all of you. Which incorporates much of the same that we have been discussing, but not necessarily all. Number 1, solicit names from council and general public. Done that. Number of voting members yet to be determined. 1 councilman, director of Parks and Recreation, and city manager as ex officio members. Solicit comments and direction from the public via public meetings and or other forms of oral or written comments pertaining to the issue. Committee shall meet at their discretion, present plan or plans along with cost estimates, and suggest timely and realistic funding options beyond bonded indebtedness. Use available information in place from Kimberly Horn to begin discussions. Seek council approval to solicit requests for proposals from other firms for consulting services if deemed necessary. Request the services of a task facilitator to be provided by LCRA, and appoint said committee at the July 5th, 2011 council meeting. And I put that in the form of a motion.
Okay, is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
All right, discussion on this motion.
Let me have a moment.
If I may, Mr. Mayor?
Sure.
Number of voting members yet to be determined. Councilman Dooley, does that mean that they will determine the size of the council or the committee?
No, we've got 21 members, and we've got a deadline, which is Wednesday of this week.
So all would be included regardless?
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
And I guess at this, are you finished, Scott?
At this point, yes,
okay.
Sir.
These, at the June 6th meeting, we solicited applicants from the public, and these people responded. As of tonight, these are the responses that we've had. Who else? Dwight A. Strike, Karen A. Strike, Bjorn Kirchdorfer, Al Carr, Dawn Bourgeois, John Detmer, Walter Moldenhauer, Larry Wirtz, Mercedes Stenberg, Sharon Warman, Lee Miller, Linda Langerhans, John Dodds, Dorothy Klerner, George Burns, Sherman Durst, David Bullion, Joe Cloud, Dean Haase, Dorothy Jesse, and John Martinez Jr. These citizens indicated an interest in working on a pool committee to work on this issue. We have another 2 days. If anybody else sends in their interest, they will be added to the list. Okay, that's all I had.
Okay.
Scott, if you had something else.
Oh, I just have one other point, and okay. It's been made in the past 2 council meetings, and I'll make it for the community in this regard. I sat here with you gentlemen, and we heard the same thing from them that we've heard from several tonight, that they believe that a comprehensive look on the park system is still a concern of the community. They've continued to say that they believe it as a Parks and Advisory Board is a valuable resource to the community, and I still think it is unacceptable for us to leave that off in any mention, any shape or form from this particular proposal. I think we need to have some reference to that we are moving in that direction, or we are not meeting the request of the community.
That is something that is always an option for this council. But tonight we had a vote that said we would not form a Parks and Recreation Board at this time. Okay? That doesn't mean that we will not form a Parks and Recreation Board sometime in the future. What we voted tonight was to focus on. We voted.
We haven't voted yet. Well, we haven't voted on this.
We haven't voted on this, but on the.
Okay.
What we voted on tonight was the decision. We're going to move forward with trying to find a solution to the pool, and that's why we're here tonight, and that's what Mr. Dooley has put forward a motion, and it has a second. And if there are any further comments from council members, Tommy, you got anything you want to say on this?
I don't see the point. Let's move forward.
We are voting. We are in the process of voting. Okay. Mr. Dooley, have anything else?
Nope.
Okay. Let's call the question. All in favor of the amendment as proposed by Mr. Dooley to create a parks pool committee, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Mr. Dooley's amendment, or Mr. Dooley's motion passes on a 3-2 vote. Item number 11 is discuss and consider city council minutes of meetings. Mr. Segner, Mr. Jones.
Yes, sir. If I may, Councilman Segner, I'll just go ahead and take this one too.
Sure.
It is the recommendation, gentlemen, that the city council meeting of minutes, or minutes of meeting, my correction there, both special and regular, shall have the following characteristics and requirements, and shall be made available to the council and general public within 2 weeks of a lawfully held meeting. All council minutes will be accurate and detailed in description of council proceedings, and shall the following include the date, time, location, and designation, special or regular, of that meeting, identify the principal parties attending and those absent, council members, city manager, city attorney, etc., acknowledge the action taken, both approval or rejection, on previous minutes, list the agenda items and the action taken on each, provide an accurate and verbatim representation of council deliberations, public comment, and statements of all others addressing the council, and state the next assigned meeting date, time, and location. I lay that before you, Mr. Mayor, for discussion.
Okay. Any discussion? One thing I've noticed, Scott, is that I asked the City Secretary, Shelley Britton, to give me a memo concerning the current minutes that are being prepared in the City Secretary's office. And Ms. Britton polled the Texas Municipal Clerks Yahoo group and received 6 responses from that municipal clerk group. None of the cities do verbatim minutes. One city said that a council member could request the minutes in writing and pay for the service. One resource Ms. Britton found for transcribing services is $200 for a half day or $250 for a full day. And she states that several years ago, an attorney spoke to the Hill Country chapter of the Texas Municipal Clerks Association in regards to the minutes, and all of the municipal clerks at this chapter meeting submitted minutes to the presenter, and the city of Fredericksburg minutes. They gave all the city clerks gave them their minutes for him to critique, and he said that the city of Fredericksburg's were excellent. Currently, the city of Fredericksburg, in their minutes, the 6 points that you raised, number 1, they do include the time, date, location, and designation, and whether it's a special and regular meeting. Number 2, they do identify the principal parties attending and those principal parties who are absent. They do acknowledge the action taken, approval or rejection of on the previous minutes. They do list the agenda items and the action taken on each agenda item. And on number 6, they do state the next assigned meeting date and the time and location. Now on number 5, they provide an accurate representation of council deliberations. They discuss some public comment, and but they are not a verbatim representation. A couple of the issues that I have is you're asking for within 2 weeks, and I think the time frame is kind of short, because 2 weeks' time does not give the city attorney and the city manager time to review the minutes. Okay, after transcription by the city secretary to make sure that they are accurate and legal. So I've got a problem with the time deadline. The city secretary and the assistant city secretary are the ones that are writing up the minutes now. When you use the word verbatim, that means word for word. Is it your intention that you want a transcript of every word that is uttered in a city council meeting, and you want that in a written form?
Is that a direct question,
That's
Mr. Mayor?
a direct question
Okay.
to you.
Good, and I appreciate that. Thank you. First of all, I don't think it's unreasonable in present technology the way that it is and the different mediums that are available to us for our council minutes, including videotape, podcast, webcast, so forth and so on, for us to ascribe or aspire to having verbatim minutes. I don't think that that's unreasonable. I've seen it in other cities. I've seen it in other communities. I've gone online and looked at other minutes of meetings and seen that.
But you're asking right here, you're asking for verbatim written minutes that go into these packets.
No, sir. What I'm asking for is verbatim minutes. I'm not asking necessarily to be written or otherwise. I'm just merely stating that if the technology exists, then it is the will of the council that we provide that medium to our community.
Okay? So if we've got...
What have we had over here since the day you started?
Okay.
Right there.
So
gentlemen, let me, please, if I may, before this becomes contentious, let me give you a history, ladies and gentlemen, council, why this particular motion is brought forward. When I went to research the council's decisions on the pool prior to the election that we just held, the latest minutes that were available on the website in the city were from 2009. That's unacceptable. Regardless of what we may have on paper, regardless of what we may have done before, it is unacceptable and is unreasonable for us to not have minutes available to our community to provide them information, our deliberations, our actions, and the words that we present here in these meetings. It's, for instance, we know that a large majority of our population is not here tonight. They have no idea what we've said, what we've done, what we voted on. They might read about it in the paper, but those minutes are illegal and final definition of our actions in these council chambers, and I think it is vital that we provide timely and complete minutes to our community.
Okay, then what we need to do is we need to decide what is meant by the word minutes.
That's precisely why this proposal is put out here.
We have the technology to provide I guess you would say a podcast. It would be an audio podcast.
MP3.
Okay, an MP3 recording of city council deliberations that a citizen could come to City Hall and they could get a copy, or hopefully we could get the technology where somebody could go to the city website and download it, or they could listen to it.
That would be a wonderful opportunity.
Is that going to be a read-only file that cannot be manipulated?
Yeah.
I certainly hope so.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, my proposal on the verbatim specifically, this number 5, is to try to get as much information at the community's hands as possible. I am open to your suggestions. I am open to your ideas. We've already met 5 of the 6 points.
Right.
This is merely a point of semantics, if you will, as to how we want to approach this next step.
Well,
shoot your ideas. I'm listening.
Well, okay. Well, the issue here, when I raised the issue of item number 11, consider city council minutes of meetings. When the city secretary saw that, she's thinking, okay, we could have 150, or I don't know, not 150 page, but a rather lengthy Word or PDF document that they would have to create.
No, and please, Mr. Mayor, I've spoken with the city secretary. I've talked with Gary. I've talked with others, and even with Pat about this particular issue. And the time frame was not an issue to them. The 2 weeks was not a concern. The verbatim was. And that's why I'm saying let's explore opportunities, because our main goal here is to be as open to the community as possible and provide the maximum amount of information. And if that's possible, and at a minimal cost to the community and to the city as well, then let's please explore that possibility.
Well, I think that's
Scott,
great.
let me explain. We've got a new computer system that we're using tonight. Let Paul,
and I'm not up to snuff on the new system, so please.
Let Paul try to explain it. Now, whether we call that minutes or whether we just call it a recording of the meeting, that's yet to be determined. But Paul, would you explain what Eric did today?
Yeah, I can.
And what we're doing right now, or Graham?
Well. I was here also.
Okay.
Basically, prior to this evening, we were using a CD recorder device.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And each meeting we had a CD of the audio, and we took that back to City Hall, and those audios are available for anybody who wants them. We were beginning to have a problem with the CD recorder, so Eric, who is working with Craig
in the IT department,
installed a computer which is actually recording right now and creating an MP3 file, which we can now either put on the website or we can create a CD from, whichever, whatever medium is more convenient to the person who is interested in receiving it.
I certainly think that comes very close to meeting that issue for me. I'm perfectly fine with the possibility, and I didn't mean to cut you off there. Go ahead.
I think, obviously you've seen a problem with the way we're including minutes on the website. I mean, written minutes on the website.
The information provided, right?
And that's something that, is a staff issue, and we need to resolve it with the staff and get as soon as the minutes have been typed and issued, we need to, and approved, then we need to put them on the website. I don't see a problem with that. Your number 5 is I don't think is very well stated. I think, the verbatim representation means a lot of things to different people. But I don't see the point of producing a document that is longer than the current one. Mm-hmm. I think very few people read them anyway, and they include a concise and accurate representation of the deliberations that went on during a meeting. And if you want more, if you want to hear the background story, then we have the MP3 file or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I think between those two, we have the material there that we can provide every information that one could expect. I think all we have is an issue with getting it up on the website.
I think getting the information out to the community as quickly as possible.
Well, that's a staff issue.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Mr. Mayor,
yes.
If I may, I haven't commented up to this point. I'd like to. Okay. I sponsored this agenda item with Mr. Jones, Councilman Jones, because I also had some issues with the way the minutes were being put onto the website, which I think has been talked about. I don't have a problem with the way they're put together. I think Shelley has done a good job on that. And I've talked to Shelley about how she does it and trying to understand the process of how this all comes together. My concern that I had primarily with it was I didn't like voting on a bunch of minutes of multiple meetings all at one time several months down the road. And I'd like to see those minutes get to us sooner. 2 weeks, I think, is not reasonable. I talked to Shelley about that as well. I think 4 weeks, she seemed to think she could do that. And I'm okay with 4 weeks or even 6 weeks if necessary. I just don't want to see us having to approve a group of minutes.
You want one at a time?
I would like to see at least maybe 2 at a time. Okay? Yeah, I'm okay with that, and I'm okay with the way Shelley's doing it. Now, this new electronic recording that we have tonight is wonderful. But, up until that point, we really didn't have anything other than the CD. And Shelley did not have a way to duplicate those CDs. Because I asked her, I said, can you make a copy of it? And she said, no. So this is a step in the right direction. And if we can get this up on the website, I'm a happy camper. We want to get these minutes and these meetings format out to the public. And I think that's what it's all about, is we want to figure out a way to get going on, what's going on here out to the public. And I like what we see here tonight. Let's continue to expand upon that. And let's see if we can get the written minutes done a little sooner. And I'm a happy camper.
So, are you willing to?
Just take no action on this
take
item?
no action on this item, and then work with staff to fine tune the system and implement the.
I am fine with taking no action at this point, as long as we continue to refine what we have.
That's it.
And let staff continue to do the job they're doing.
Is that a motion?
I'll make it in a motion.
Second?
I thought we were taking no action. So are we taking no action, or are we taking we have a motion?
The motion is take no action.
If you want a motion,
Mr. Mayor, would it be appropriate to pull the item as presented at that point, then, to say that we're taking no action? How do we proceed forward from here?
I think that we just take no action, and then we just
let the official record reflect that we took no action.
Yeah, let the official record reflect that we took no action.
And we continue to monitor the situation.
And that we monitor the situation, and
Mr. Mayor,
get some. We will be some of the first to know when this meeting's minutes are posted.
That's true.
On the website, so that
it may be sooner than later.
Yeah,
Mr. Mayor, as the author of this motion, let me just say this: I think it accomplished its ultimate goal, and that was to get the information out to the community of where we were, what we're trying to do, and how we're trying to get it done. So I have no problem at this point with moving forward, but be aware I'll be keeping an eye.
Okay. Well,
I also
put the eye down on city staff, because it's coming out of the IT department, and we just need to have an understanding with our city staff as to
what the wish of the council.
They know what the wish of the council is, but don't look to me to do it, because I know how to use a flash drive, but not too much after that. So they know what the wish of the council is. I think everybody sitting up here wants information to the public, because an informed public is an involved public, and we are here to make good public policy decisions. All right. Item number 12 is public comment. Anybody have anything to say that hasn't been said already? Mr. Moldenhauer.
Well, you talked about some. I just want to make an appeal to
Gary, I don't think that microphone's on. You see, you should have a red line going up in the right-hand corner. And everybody else's, see? His isn't on. Perhaps you haven't had it on.
I didn't know. Is it on now?
Now we can hear you.
Sorry, I didn't know it was off. Who turned it off? They didn't want to hear me, right? You heard enough from me already? No, I just happened to look in my mail, and my Texas Parks and Wildlife magazine just came, and it says, every drop counts. If you want to look at some factual information about water in the whole state, lucky we have that reservoir underneath us, because if we are lucky we don't have the city of San Antonio pulling water out of it. I just want to read you one thing out of it. Without additional water in 2060, the area that includes the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex could lose $49 billion in income, $3 billion in state and local taxes, 500,000 jobs, and 750,000 people, and suffer a school enrollment drop of 271,000. Now, I don't know how they got those figures. Don't ask me that. But if you could put an appeal to the citizens that this water issue is serious, and ask them, yes, please conserve, and I don't know if that'll help, but the stage 2 didn't help. Certainly hope stage 3 helps. Anyway, that's it.
Thank you, Walter. Any other public comment? Council comment? Matt? I appeal to the citizens of Fredericksburg. Are you right getting this verbatim? Do you have your recorder on? Okay. I appeal to the citizens of Fredericksburg to use common sense and to use water reasonably. We are in a period of extreme drought, and every drop of water that we can save, we will need to use later on. The city is pumping a lot of water from wells that have sufficient water for our community, but that's no reason why we should waste the water that we have. So if you can cut back, please do so. If in the future you have the opportunity to install some kind of rain collection system on that will on your house, in the event that we ever get rain again, that would be good for us to have. Take Boy Scout showers.
Better explain
Is that going in the paper, Mayor?
Yeah, okay. Or I guess are they called military showers also?
I'm not going to ask us.
GI showers. Okay.
Your comments on personal hygiene aside.
Yeah, okay. I think those were Mr. Dooley's comments.
Anything else?
Any other council comment tonight?
I move we go into executive session.
Okay. Move to go out of regular session into executive session. In a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you for attending this evening's meeting.
9:55.
Mark.
It's good to stand up a minute.
Yeah.